again, thank you guys all for coming. Just to give you, Marge is going to, the financial part, I'm going to let Marge talk about, but I just want to talk a little bit about why we went the direction we did. Really, the general fund has been in trouble for, it's been going like this. This all started several years ago, primarily when Governor Kasich was in office, and he, through the legislature, he drastically cut local government funding, and that affected townships greatly. When I first started with the police department, which was over 20 years ago here in Kinsman, we didn't have a police levy. The police were supported from the general fund. We had probably twice the money in our general fund back then that we do now. Granted, our parks are better by far than they were back then. But utilities, everything is just going up. And really, if it wasn't for the ARP money that we got from the federal government, that has buoyed our general fund the last 2 years. That really kept us afloat, using that money for everyday, the parks. The parks are the big part of this. So that's how we're where we're at. And Marge will have a better idea as far as the figures go where that went. We talked about different size levies. We talked, but we also didn't want to go with 0.5 and then we're still screwed. We still don't. So we tried to go with, quite frankly, a little bit more than the bare minimum. Because general fund money we can use anywhere else in any other, we can use it in the police department needs something, the road department needs something, zoning is in the general fund. It's a lot more flexible. So it gives us a lot more flexibility when it comes to supplementing more in areas of need. A big thing is that I'm somewhat biased probably, but in the last 10 years, you drive down Main Street now compared to 10 or 12 or 15 years ago, and I think you'll see a drastic difference. I'm a firm believer that if we want to keep Kinsman moving in the right direction, we got to invest in Kinsman. The sidewalks, ever since I've been a trustee, have been big to me because, you guys travel throughout the United States and you go through towns and if they look like a dump, that's not the place you're probably going to stop. We want Kinsman to, I get compliments from, I go to county township meetings, every month, and Kinsman, I get trustees from other townships talking about how Kinsman is moving in the right direction. And if we want to continue to move in the right direction, unfortunately, this is why we're coming to you to ask for a little bit more money. It was very, this is very distasteful, quite frankly. We all know how much our residents are struggling with the same thing that we're individually struggling. But we also want to make sure that we continue to invest because if we quit investing, we're going to start going back in the wrong direction. I just want to point this out because this money can also be used for grants for matching money. And most of the time, for grants, especially if you get any substantial amount of money, you've got to throw some money in the pot. We, as a township, and again, I'm going to go over the last, I've been a trustee for just short of 12 years. We have brought in probably between $500,000–$600,000 in grants into the township. A lot of that chunk of that is the sidewalks, but we've also brought in grant money for over at the township garage under the guise of the recycling, improving the recycling, which it has improved the recycling, but it has greatly improved the security at our township garage. And we've added lighting, we've added cameras. We were able to add cameras at all of our parks, and they've come in quite handy lately. So this is something, again, you know, unfortunately, the reality of it is, because the big bulk of this is the parks, you know, that's where we're going to end up. And to me, outdoors, that, you know, this is, I think, what makes us, and, you know, looking at in the future as far as even doing more. We have another phase of sidewalks that are going to be going in next year. For those of you who don't know, it'll be all brand new sidewalk, a place where there's never been sidewalks before. It'll go west from the library to State Street, and then all the way down the west side of State Street to the square. So, you know, I'm sure you all know how maniacs drive on the square, and you've got pedestrians that are walking from the square to IGA or the post office, and this is a big safety thing too. It's not only, to me, it's good for physical activity, but it's also good for safety. And with that being said, we recently applied for 3 grants from the county commissioners, and we were awarded about $200,000 in grant money. A big bulk of that is for the green space, adding walkways in the green space, which will connect Main Street to the new sidewalks on State Street. So basically, there's a little section, if you guys all know where Mr. Jones used to live, where the caboose was, there's a little section of grass right there. And Mr. Thompson bought that house and that property for the sole purpose is he wanted to give that chunk of grass where the caboose was to Kinsman Township so we could connect State Street to Main Street. We're going to put he's going to sign that over to the township, and we're going to put a sidewalk through there. So if you're on Main Street and have to go to the grocery store or the post office, you're going to be able to walk straight across through the park. And it also will be, you know, we're trying to connect the whole town where if you start one place, you can make a big circle or walk all around town and not touch the same place twice. But it also, you got to look, it definitely improves the appearance of town. So we have actively tried to look outside of the box. And the biggest thing with the sidewalks, I want to point out, that money, the matching money for those sidewalks has been very little, very, very little township money. It's been the community. The community has given a bulk of our matching money. We have recently used some ARP funding to do that, but the bulk of it has been raised by citizens in this community. Otherwise, we wouldn't have them. So that's limited what we can take credit for. It was the generosity, and that's why, in a way, the community has always been generous to the township. We've never failed a police levy. We've never failed an ambulance levy. We've never failed a road levy. So it was really hard for us to come to you and ask for this 1.5. But like I said, this is something that I feel strongly about, if you haven't been able to tell already, that we just need to have it. I mean, everybody needs, I listen to Ron Burb every once in a while, and I'm listening to him bash and people asking for more money all the time. So, but unfortunately, he doesn't know our circumstances. And I think all of the trustees that you have, we do a lot of stuff beyond just coming to meetings once a month. And I think that, I think all of our, and Jamin sends us apologies, he had something come up at the last minute, it was a conflict, otherwise he would be here. So I guess before I turn this over to Marge, because I've rambled on long enough, is there any questions, anything I said so far that you may have a question? I was asked a question at one of the trustee meetings, and I appreciated it, about what have you done to bring money into the township that will bring up the tax collections, whether it's business or whatever.